Chapter 10. Shadow of Neo-Zeon. Engulfed in his relentless chase of the gray Gundam, Josh offshore was jolted by a searing flash of light behind the panoramic monitor and spun around. Ah, he exhaled, a sharp intake of breath marking his shock as the white mobile suit disengaged from the fiery turmoil. This can't be happening. It can't be. Damn it! Damn it all! He repeated over and over, unable to accept the reality before him. There was no burning desire for vengeance within him for Cod's memory. The situation's sheer magnitude had eclipsed such sentiments. All he could do was gaze, dazed. As the white mobile suit vanished into the void, inadvertently allowing Gray's machine to escape his notice. Lieutenant Cod has fallen in battle. Offshore's solemn report reached Cray's ears as he occupied the spaceport of A.E.U.G City. What? I see. So even Brave has. The image of Cod's boisterous laughter flashed through Cray's mind. At the same time, he grew concerned about the mental state of Offshore, who had delivered the report. Josh, are you holding up all right? Yes, I'm managing somehow. Offshore, perhaps lost in the fog of shock, misinterpreted Cray's inquiry as a tactical one. For his age, he was quick to recover from the shock. He was accepting the situation head-on. This provided Cray a semblance of reassurance. Yet, a pang of guilt for subtly manipulating Offshore's guilelessness brushed against Cray's conscience. But it was a fleeting feeling. During the 1-year war, while living in a Zeon military prison camp, he had cast aside any remorse for using others for his own gain. Yet, the undeniable potential and earnestness in Offshore tugged at Cray's conscience. All right. In that case, I'm leaving you in command there. Leading a force of this size is too heavy a burden for me. You have no choice, Josh. I'll leave command here to side and join you as soon as things settle down. Don't worry. You can handle this. Understood. Josh Offshore, assuming operational command. I'm counting on you. Cray watched the first wave of evacuation shuttles launch. The shuttles would fly straight to Lone, where the remnants of the E.E.U.G fleet should be waiting. After ending the communication with Offshore, he muttered to himself. Brave. In the end, you reverted to being just another soldier, didn't you? I wonder if I can accomplish anything on my own now. Until now, he had been able to be a dreamer. As insensitive as it sounded, he had been able to enjoy the war. But from here on, he would have to become a man of action. Sensing the gravity of the responsibility that would soon weigh upon him, he gazed up at the exhaust flames of the ascending shuttles. In the lunar autonomous city of A.E.U.G, the suppression force had already disarmed most of the civilian militia. Only the central government dome remained their territory. Inside the mayor's office, the air hung heavy with the weight of defeat. Mayor Kaiser Pinefield stood at his desk, his shoulders slumped as if bearing an invisible burden. The message card in his hand seemed to mock him, its words a bitter reminder of the aid that had arrived too late. Too late, he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Far too late. The young communications officer who had delivered the card looked as if he had aged a lifetime in mere days. Dried, reddish-black blood caked his forehead, a stark contrast to the traces of youth that still clung to his features. With a rough gesture, he wiped away the blood, his skin taut beneath his fingers. It was as if he were wiping away the tears of parting, a final acknowledgement of the hopelessness that engulfed them. How ironic that the very space noids we were least compatible with are the only ones to offer us aid, the mayor mumbled as he removed his normal suit helmet, as if noticing for the first time that he had been wearing it, and placed it on the desk. How shall we respond? The communications officer asked. Pinefield's gaze grew distant, his voice tinged with regret. I didn't want to accept help from them, of all people. Even if this message had arrived on the first day of the battle, I would have refused. He paused, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Very well. Respond as follows: we appreciate the Principality of Zeon's offer of assistance. However, regrettably, as of today, A.E.U.G city has submitted to the Federation government and is ending its resistance. I intend to atone for this responsibility with my own death. Again, I express my gratitude for your understanding and offer of support, and I hope that you will lend your aid to the new decides. Send that in plain text to the Axis fleet. Mayor, we've lost, haven't we? Breaking his silence for the first time, the communications officer's voice cracked with a mixture of despair and inquiry. His voice was hoarse. He could read the resolute will in the mayor's face. His body trembled slightly. Please, let me accompany you. No, only the old need to die. We will leave a great debt to you young people, but at least we can preserve the dignity of A.E.U.G city. It's your duty to tell the next generation that we fought for the sake of the Earth. What good would it do if you were to die as well? With a touch that carried the weight of finality, the mayor placed his hand on the young officer's shoulder, a gesture of both farewell and a passing of responsibility. The communications officer silently saluted with a tear-stained face and began walking towards the door. Behind him, he heard the dull sound of a desk drawer being opened. The mayor saw his fate glinting dully inside the mahogany desk drawer. He felt its weight and coldness in his hand. On the other side of the closed door, the young communications officer paused for a moment at the small metallic click followed by a burst of sound. He knew that sound signified the shattering of Pinefield's life and A.E.U.G city's ill-fated bonds. In a daze, he headed for the administrative department. The hallway was overflowing with injured civilians. Hey, Mama. Is the Gundam our enemy? Is the Gundam coming to kill us? A young boy gazing at the battle footage displayed on the lobby monitor asked his still youthful mother. In his hand, he clutched a metal RX-78 Gundam toy, a hero from the One-Year War, its paint chipped. With no words to offer, the mother enveloped her son in a tight embrace, her tears a silent testament to the heartache the war had wrought. The boy hurled the toy that had made his mother cry against the lobby wall with all his might. But even as it struck the wall, the Gundam toy didn't break. The communications officer picked up the toy and handed it back to the boy. It's over now. The Gundam is a hero of justice. Why would it come to kill? Us? He said, giving the boy a weak smile and patting his head. Then he entered the administrative department. Responsibility to the next generation. Since the previous generation had selfishly settled things and abandoned their responsibility to the current one, perhaps it was his duty to live a little longer. After all, it fell to them to create a new history. Like it or not, that responsibility had been thrust upon them, he thought as he walked on. Around that time, a dark shadow approaching the moon from a corner of space began to show itself. It was a space fleet dispatched from the Neo-Zeon forces. Hurry up and launch the Caesar from Deck 2. We're backed up here. On the mobile suit deck of the crimson-painted battleship, with its distinctive stingray-like silhouette, deck crews scrambled about, while angry shouts swirled through the ship's internal communications. Amidst the chaos, pale pink humanoid weapons called Caesar were shot out one after another from the linear catapult. We're deploying the EAs in actual combat too? Of course we are. It's a combat deployment. Once the pale pink humanoid weapons had finished launching, new machines with silhouettes resembling the previous humanoid weapons emerged from the elevator and were connected to the catapult before being fired out. In no time, the space around the fleet centered on the Crimson battleship was filled with humanoid weapons. On the bridge of that ship, a stern-looking man in a military uniform who appeared to be the fleet commander sat in the captain's chair, receiving the final communication from Mayor Pinefield. Unexpectedly fragile, he muttered. "Admiral Twanning, what shall we do? If Ayer's city has fallen, this operation is meaningless. Shall we have all units return to base?" The captain of the stingray-shaped battleship Gwali turned back to the admiral seated in the rear command chair. "No, wait. Returning now would impact everyone's morale. Besides, this serves as a good show of force. And those new decides mentioned in the message may prove useful. I believe we have a collaborator among them." Admiral Twanning, sporting an impressive mustache, ordered the continuation of the operation. During the 1-year war, he had worked under Rear Admiral Kaikilia Zabi of the Zeon Space Attack Force. In the final decisive battle at A.E.U.G, he commanded operations until the very end before being captured by the Federation forces. Later, with the help of Zeon remnants, he escaped from a frigid Federation POW camp in Iceland and fled to the asteroid Axis where Zeon remnants had taken refuge in space, whereupon he joined the Axis forces. He should be using the name Sao Tome. The captain lifted the operation order file beside him, flipped through the pages, and found the alias of the operative. Beneath the stark, gray expanse of the lunar surface, the new decides were in a frantic rush, launching their mobile suits from A.E.U.G city's mass driver launch track. Even as they clashed with the advancing suppression forces, the importance of the mass driver had dawned too late on the suppression force, prompting a hasty deployment of their unit. "Get the next one ready on the pallet. Now!" "That won't work. The Zway's too massive. Hold it back for the next round." In the underground control room, a safe distance from the government dome, pandemonium reigned. Pilots were barred from accompanying their machines into space via the mass driver, the launch's brutal acceleration deemed too perilous. Instead, they orchestrated the launches of their cherished mobile suits before retreating to shuttles, bound for a distant spaceport. Their camaraderie was palpable, aiding each other until the final moments of departure. "Good work. You guys head to the spaceport." "Roger that. We're moving out," came the brisk reply. "Launch as many mobile suits and as many of their comrades into space as possible before the suppression force arrived." This had become their unspoken motto. Supporting this desperate escape operation were the mobile suit units that had seized and were defending the spaceport and launch track. The unit occupying the launch track had begun a gradual retreat to allow for the launches, and the remaining mobile suits belonged to only a handful of the most skilled pilots. Adopting hit-and-run guerrilla tactics, they leveraged the lunar terrain with surprising efficacy. The one commanding them was Offshore, who had recovered from the shock of Cod's death. In the past 30 minutes, Offshore had disabled 9 of the suppression force's mobile suits. From the start, the difference in firepower was far too great. Rather than completely destroying one machine, he opted to disable 3. He maneuvered his ZQ-1s out from behind a boulder to snipe a mobile suit that would become his 10th kill of the day. Shrapnel burst from the leg unit of the targeted Nero as it buckled. Without even waiting to confirm, he moved his machine behind a rocky outcropping to the left. Shoot and immediately relocate. This was the iron rule of combat in any war. The suppression forces, seeing their allies sniped and disabled by an unknown assailant, were thrown into a panic and began firing wildly. Originally, this isn't the kind of fight I wanted, Offshore thought. For someone who clearly knew his skills surpassed the enemy's, having to stay hidden and continue sniping was the greatest humiliation. But he was well aware that now wasn't the time for such lofty ideals. All the more so because he had been entrusted with command. With his limited forces, he had to strive for maximum effectiveness. Even as he repeated this to himself, he had already disabled his 11th mobile suit of the day. A.E.U.G City had surrendered to the suppression force a full 3 hours ago. Now that he had shot out the leg units of the suits belonging to the child soldiers who had tried to follow him, forcing them to abandon combat, and disbanding the White Force, he was as good as alone. He had severed the next generation, the inheritors of the future, with his own hands. But if it was a misguided future based on flawed guidance, it had to be cut off. Offshore couldn't put it into words, and he was unaware that the flawed guidance for the child soldiers was none other than himself, having received the wrong direction from the previous generation. It only manifested in his actions of making the child soldiers abandon the fight. Having lost their leader Cod and the support of Air City, forced to fight alone once more, the new Decides organization to which Offshore belonged was also alone. But the one difference from Offshore as an individual was that the new Decides still clung to a misguided future. Tex, Sigmund, secure the mass driver's launch track? It's swarming with guerrillas and the others can't get close. The XS Gundam, badly damaged in the battle with the Mark V, had returned to the supply camp for emergency repairs. Having lost most of its weapons, it was now equipped with a beam rifle for the novel Jim III. The two A2+ had also sustained damage, but thanks to the desperate efforts of the camp's mechanics, they had been restored to a state where they could engage in combat. Then came the new orders from Mannings. Roots grumbled. I almost died out there. I don't want to do this anymore. I'll quit being a pilot like you wanted, so give me a break, you bastard. Too bad, no can do. You trying to run away now? Rio Roots. You've been talking big to me, but are you a coward? Like it or not, you can't step down as the pilot of the S Gundam. You've been chosen. Chosen? By who? In any case, you can't quit being a pilot. While you're here complaining, many pilots may be dying. Are you going or not, Rio Roots? You have no choice but to go. Ugh, fine, I got it. With that, Roots launched in the XSS, followed by the two Z2+. Even if it's an order, he's really harsh. Wes grumbled, a rare show of discontent. Reaching the airspace above the mass driver launch track, the pilots of the three Gundams gasped at the sight below. Disabled mobile suits could be seen here and there. Dear God. Even as Roots marveled, another suit was sniped from somewhere and exploded. It's fine for us, since our mobile suits can fly, but I feel bad for the guys on the ground. Wes remarked wryly. If we get any more involved here, the damage will keep piling up, so we're gonna smash that mass driver. Roots further accelerated the XS. As Offshore brought his 13th mobile suit into his sights, he spotted 3 luminous trails at the upper edge of his monitor. Those Gundam types. Even as he pulled the trigger, he maneuvered his machine towards the XS team's formation. Behind him, his 13th prey exploded. Offshore made his Ziku jump. Rio-U, a blue one, just jumped up from below. West, having confirmed Offshore's machine, called out a warning. I know, but our target ain't the mobile suit. A beam from Offshore's machine grazed the formation, and Roots barely managed to evade it. This shooting, it's the same one that shot me down, Sigmund shouted, recognizing it. He could tell from the quirks in the enemy's actions leading up to the shot. Gee, if we let them through, the track will. Seeing his initial shot evaded, Offshore found the delay of waiting for his machine to land maddening. He repeated his jumps at full power while rushing towards the launch track. 3 Gundam types? They're targeting the track. Even so, he sent out warnings to the other mobile suits. Here they come. Realizing the approach of the 3 Gundams, the new Decides mobile suits gathered at the launch track and began a furious anti-air barrage. Don't let them touch the track. Shoot them down. The pilots shouted. The 3 Gundams raced through, scoring several hits on the launch track's trusses. Were we too late? Seeing this, Offshore gnashed his teeth, cursing the inferiority of ground mobility. The mass driver launch track swayed unsteadily. The 3 Gundams made a 180-degree turn, preparing for another high-speed attack. Due to their tremendous flying speed, The turn took about 5 minutes. Shh, so slow. Roots grumbled as he brought the XS into an attack course and captured the launch track in his targeting reticle. At that moment, A.E.U.G jumped up from the front and below, its rifle barrel looming. It was Offshore's machine. Just as predicted. The instant Offshore was about to pull the trigger, large beams began assaulting the area around the launch track, one after another. What the? Distracted by this, Offshore's machine was swiftly attacked by a beam from the XSS. Its target hastily switched by Roots. I told ya, the mobile suits ain't the target. A tremendous shock. A dazzling light. As he registered this, Offshore's consciousness sank into a deep, dark abyss. Josh. Someone kept calling his name. It seemed a long, long time had passed. His consciousness was gradually reviving from the chaos. Noi? Hearing Offshore's groan, Cray felt relieved. Josh, can you hear me? It's me, Cray. He was fully awake now. But he realized that the thick gray curtain before his eyes wouldn't clear. Lieutenant Cray, where are we? The medical bay of the Neo-Zeon fleet flagship, the battleship Gwali. Did you say Neo-Zeon? Why would those guys? They apparently want to aid us. It was also them who provided fire support around the mass driver launch track when you were there. Fire support? You call that fire support? That was indiscriminate bombardment. Well, don't get so worked up. I don't fully understand this development either. No one requested their assistance, after all. But at the very least, they saved our lives. The guys who took off in the shuttles earlier are on this ship too. Only about 40 people managed to escape. But for now, we have to thank them. How long have I been? Out for a full day. You were completely unconscious when I rescued you. You did well. Oh, and Josh, it's best if you don't try to open your eyes. It may come as a shock, but it seems your optic nerves were damaged. Hearing this, Offshore was stunned. He had lost his vision. He couldn't fight like this anymore. Noticing his demeanor, Cray continued. Don't worry. It doesn't seem you've gone completely blind. The doctor here says you should recover in about a month. A month. Such a long time. Once you recover, you can fight again. Until then, rest well. There was no way the new decides could last a month. He thought this but was too afraid to say it aloud. If he did, it would mean denying his entire being. I'm going to meet with the commander of this fleet. Don't worry. Rest for now. With that, Cray left the medical bay. In the gray darkness, Offshore was left alone once more. On this day, March 28th, the battle underwent a major shift. The Neo-Zeon forces intervened and, taking advantage of the fact that the Federation forces couldn't touch them due to political considerations, rescued the new Decide soldiers on the lunar surface. It was also the day a lunar city collapsed. The XS Gundam and 2 Z2 pluses on the moon were once again recalled to the Pegasus 3, where they would take on a new mission.